Good morning. Hope everyone's doing well. This is totally impromptu live. So if anyone does come on in the chat, I'll be shocked. But I thought I'd come on, get some reps in, obviously, just chat about a few things. What we've got coming up, the games, obviously, clearly. Something important this weekend is going on in the CrossFit community world, which is quite a big deal. And another few things. But first, I want to give a massive shout out to Steve and the team at Defiant. Look at this. The show has its own t-shirt and vest. I wore some to the gym earlier. I have already got some Defiant clothing, apparel. But these are pretty special because got a bloody show name on, haven't they? Look at that. Beautiful. So the guys sent me a few bits of kit to wear, to test out, to have a look at. And I'll tell you what, I'm not just saying this. I try to stay fully clothed as much as I can in the gym. I very, very, very rarely take my top off in the gym, only when I'm on my own, for whatever reason. But vests have always been the way forward for that, or tank tops, if you're American. And the vest that I wore this morning was absolutely perfect for my training. I did a leg workout. Yesterday was pretty grim. I've started doing my Hyrox training. I'm doing a Hyrox and a powerlifting meet in October, within a couple of weeks of each other. So I'm training for that hybrid. I'm a hybrid athlete. No, you're a CrossFitter. You can do everything. Stop calling yourself a hybrid athlete. So I'm doing a Hyrox on October 23rd. I'm doing a powerlifting meet on October the 7th, I think, the weekend of the 7th, whatever that is. And we've got Rogue, Yoni Boy, and I, hopefully are going to be able to do some media at Rogue. We haven't heard back yet. Apparently we're here in August, whether or not you've got media. Understand why. However, in terms of like planning, being able to sort of take family time and all that kind of stuff, ideally we'd be finding out a little bit before then, but you know, it is what it is. So hopefully we're going up to Rogue in there. Can't remember my flow of thought there, but yeah, going up to Rogue and doing some bits and bobs together up there. Training, that was it. So I've got my powerlifting meet, so I'm trying to manage both of those alongside each other. Now I know what numbers I want to hit at competition because I'm now the grand old age of 40. And as anyone in powerlifting knows, M1 or the Masters 1 category begins at 40. Life begins at 40. So now that I'm in that age category, the qualifying totals and bits and bobs for national competitions and whatnots have all dropped down a little bit into my realm. So we'll be hitting those numbers. This is the 93 kilo category that I'll be in. Body weight, that is. And yeah, so powerlifting and hybrid and Hyrox. Hybrid Rockstar, that's what it is, isn't it? So training yesterday, I had about half an hour to train between bits and bobs. And the workout I went for was quite tasty. I did it in 9:15, 9:16, and it was 5 rounds of 1 deadlift, 20 calorie ski. Doesn't sound a lot, but when the deadlift's 200 kilos, so whatever, what is that? I'm just doing the math. Why do we say maths? And you guys say math. 441 pounds. So 1 deadlift at 441 and then 20 calorie ski is 5 rounds of that. I wanted to get a similar sort of stimulus without the handstand rubbish. I actually tried handstanding the other day. My first time since I had my neck op. Went all right. Got about 5 or 6 meters, which wasn't too bad. What's that in 19th century feet, whatever that might be. But yeah, again, inspired by the games, inspired by watching that and seeing what they do and adapting back towards my capability. So yeah. And then today, so I did bench press, obviously, after doing that little ditty yesterday. And then today I needed a half an hour plod, ticking those boxes. Whereas normally I would have a rest day, Thursday, Sunday. What I'm doing is going to slip in a couple of longer metcons to begin with, mono stuff, so monostructural, or Hyroxy sort of style a couple of times a week, half an hour to start with each time, and then gradually building up over the 12 weeks towards hour long, maybe hour 10 pieces. But it was C2 bike, sled push for about 100 meters, and then some leg extensions on the machine. I've got to build up those quaddies. Anyone that's ever had any knee issues understands why. And that was about half an hour. So that was nice this morning. Anyway, getting back to my point was I wore my Defiant Printing Services, my Defiant Co. tank top or vest. And that really did the job. Enough airflow at the sides to allow me to breathe, but also nice and big and baggy. Because that's the way I like it. So there we go. So thank you, Steve. Thanks for organising that. Steve is actually over at the games. I wonder if I can pull up the Defiant account. You can have a looky hooky. Defiant Co. Where are we? I think it might have actually been on his. Have a look. That's on YouTube. That's why. More on. Anyway, so yeah, Steve's over there. I think it was a last minute choice, last minute decision. Don't know, but he's over there. Like a lot of people, I'm very jealous. Having a grand old time. Daniel Chaffee over there with a few of the guys. I think he said he took 6 guys in the end from Louvre to immerse themselves in the coaches' development piece over there, some of the seminars, and of course actually get to be part of the community and watch some of the games, which is awesome. Some of the videos coming out are great. The games this year seems to be more what's the word I'm looking for? Classic CrossFit, maybe. At least on the telly, at least on the highlights, at least on the media. I haven't really absorbed too much of the media outside of the actual footage so far. But from what I've spoken to the guys on the channel about, especially Garrett, who did a fucking amazing job in that booth talking. Her role was exceptional there. And I don't know if you noticed this, but it is a very nuanced position to be where she was. Her role for the weekend, or for the couple of days she was in that booth, was to play us, the community CrossFit member at the gym, at the affiliate, watching and asking the questions that we would ask, not what the pundits, not what the experts, not what the elite coaches would know already and ask. It's from our perspective. So at one point there were, I think, about 12,000 people watching Savon's channel live post-event or pre-event, sorry. I think it was the back squat event. And Garrett was asking the questions that we at the gym would ask our coaches. There's no fear of asking those questions. It served a really good role, and I'm really proud of that. And she should be really proud of the role that she played. Really good. Going live in front of that many people for the first time is bloody daunting. Going live in front of 3 people is daunting, let alone thousands and thousands of people at the premiere event of the season. All the guys did obviously exceptionally well. And I'm looking forward to the coverage today as well, because it's going to build and build and get even more exciting. The point spread isn't too much across male and female, actually, so it's quite close. Now, talking as someone that hasn't, I've talked about this loads of times recently, so I'm not going to do it again. Someone that's sort of taken a step back away from the sport side of it, the fitness racing side of it. I'm re-engaged this year. Now, that could be down to a number of factors. It could be the fact that I've been to a couple of events in the last couple of months. It could be that I'm on here talking to people and getting excited about it all the time. It could be that the content that's going out and the actual CrossFit Games and the season and CrossFit HQ have actually brought it to the table. They've done a decent job. It could be all of them. I don't know, but whatever it is, I'm re-engaged. I'm enjoying watching it for what it is. I'm enjoying watching it for what it is, which is entertainment. It's the circus coming to town. It's being able to watch these people doing extraordinary things, potentially for the first and only time of their career, watching the excitement, watching the pitfalls of making wrong decisions, watching the elation of all the community and the team, watching the bloody fish heads in the crowds. It's been really cool. It's been more of that CrossFit community event that we really needed. And I've absolutely loved watching it. And the coverage has been awesome. Chase and Adrian in the booth narrating and commentating, has been top notch. With an odd sort of sprinkling of satire or comedy towards the athletes, which I think is needed. I think that rapport, I think that back and forward with the athletes is grown, and it's great. This one power of social media. I was talking to my wife about this last night, actually, when we were watching the last event of 6 and 7. There seems to be an awakening of characters in the space again. We had 4 or 5 years where we didn't really know much. We like about the people, the athletes, and that they weren't relatable to some degree. But we've got that now, and it's great. It's really cool. Even like tiny little things, like Colton going on and tagging Hiller in a thing about his rope breaking. Like just little bits and pieces of that. It doesn't have to be full documentary style kind of conversations about how they grew up and everything. But it's communication and it's humor. It's not taking themselves too seriously, and it's been part of our tribe and our group. And it's been so cool to watch. And I unless anything drastic happens today, it's been such a good games. Going down to the 3 days, I think, was a great idea. I've been surprised to see so many empty seats. Now, it might just be the angles or the coverage, but it did look like there's quite a few empty seats at the games, which is surprising. I don't think that'll be the case next year. I think this games is really going to set precedents and a reignition of a spark of interest and excitement into the games. I think it drifted a little bit further away from us, and I think we've been able to claw it back a little bit, which is great. And as someone that's kind of drifted away over the last 5 years, like I said, I've managed to keep hold of things because of the affiliates, because of the community, because of the people that are around me. And I really bloody hope, the biggest hope that I have from this games, and this is something that I didn't appreciate until recent, is if the games goes really well, if the media that comes out of it's really well, there's a trickle-down effect. People will get excited again about CrossFit. And that trickles down the pyramid, and it falls down, and it comes back to us at the base, comes down to us, and there's excitement again at the affiliate. And we've talked about this a few times, and it's that middle tier, not tier 2 that middle tier of affiliate owners and coaches. If you get them on board, if they're excited about CrossFit, if they're excited about fitness racing, if they're pushing it, their affiliate, the affiliate members will be too. That's what's happened. And I can see that coming over the next year. I can see it. The Open this year coming up will be the best one we've had in years. I guarantee it. You watch what happens in this space over the next 6 months. By February next year, it'll be thriving again. We'd have pulled back some of the people that have walked away for whatever reasons they have done. We'll have these athletes at the tip of the spear, inspiring people with what they do, aspirationally. The content coming out now is great. We'll see behind the scenes from the athletes, but on top of that, we will see content coming about the affiliates. We'll see people coming forward with their stories. We're going to see, like I said earlier, a reignition of the passion around CrossFit. The whole thing of CrossFit, all of it. Like we keep saying recently with everyone I've talked about, we say the same thing. The brand and the name CrossFit stands for the whole pyramid. Once we celebrate the whole pyramid with no exceptions, we grow. And I'm really excited about the next few years, especially the Open next year. I think that's going to be a real kickstart after this. And as a side note, I think all the third parties, you know, people like your Metfixes, your WFPs, your Hyrox, already said them, Metfix, Hyrox, WFP, and others. I know in the UK we've got Athex, we've got other competitions. They can add to our industry, let's call it, of CrossFit. Hello, sir. Shawnee boy. I really don't like the handles at the moment. It's every time they go away to a competition, and I don't know why. But hello, Sean. Hope you're well. We're not racing. I can race you if you want. I'm just having just had a bit of a spiel about the games and everything, but you know. One thing I did want to bring up. Now, I'm not giving you my opinion does not necessarily reflect that of the entire Savon channel. Hiller put out a post overnight here, but whatever. About Spiegel's depth in a squat and then dom it. Now, I hate to say this out loud. I am a powerlifting coach. Okay. So I don't mind saying that bit out loud. What I mean to say is my experience. Hello, Katie, who isn't my wife, by the way. My experience as a powerlifting coach and watching thousands and thousands of reps in a wider stance at low bar, which should be taught as a tool, not as an everyday use, but as a tool for CrossFitters. I firmly believe that. I've also coached 20,000 hours of CrossFit. So I know the difference between what we look for in CrossFit. I know about mechanics. I know we want an upright chest. I know that's what we teach on the L1 and 2. We also don't coach the butterfly pull up. So that's one thing. CrossFit made a good point yesterday when I was talking about this in the chat, was he mentioned just like butterfly. Yep, absolutely. The wider stance, the sumo stance, the low bar should be used as a tool, just like butterfly. When we're pushed into a position where we're racing or we want to get a competitive advantage, the low bar is just that. Bill Grundler said it in the chat as well to me. He uses it when he needs to. They test back squat about, I think he said, 3 times a year, I think he's mentioned. If you are at a testing position and you test regularly for back squat, and your primary goal is to lift as much load as you can, which is obviously the essence of powerlifting, you have to utilize every position and movement and mechanic that you can. Now, from a powerlifting position, persuasion, it's about 50-50, just like sumo deadlifts and conventional deadlifts. So hands inside or outside the ankles at the bottom and the pull. It's preference. It's based on your biomechanics. It's not one size fits all. There are hybrid positions. We've even seen it with Olympic lifting. There's a South African lifter, I think he's South African, might be Brazilian, who lifts cleans in a sumo position. His hands are inside his legs. Now, for him, he's made that work. It will not work for 99% of people. But you need to figure this shit out. You need to figure out if low bar is mechanically better for you when testing. And if it is better for you when testing, you need to utilize that movement pattern in your training now and again when you're testing. It makes perfect sense. Now, if your goal when you're testing is to test at high bar for transference into front squat, for transference into your cleans, that's cool. That's on you. That's fine. However, if you are after purely from a back squat perspective, getting the highest load lifted, and with the caveat, if low bar suits you mechanically, you should be doing low bar. If it's not taught at your gym, if it's not taught at your affiliate, speak to one of the coaches. Now, on that, I'm going to pull up Spiegel's first. And there's a reason I'm bringing this up. Now, I've watched this on my phone on a tiny little screen before I bring it up. Now, we talk about hip crease below the top of the knee. The issue with that, the issue with the hip crease thing, is that the hip crease isn't going to be in the same position for everyone. That's one, based on muscle mass around the joint. Now, I tend to lean towards, is this showing? Yeah. So I don't know if I can pause. Yeah, I can. So top of the knees here. Miss Spiegel, I've got a picture of her with my really good friend Simon about 3 weeks ago. He went to Boston, trained. She undoubtedly has a hell of a lot of mass sat around that hip joint, her glute, her upper quad, her hamstrings, everything around this joint is fully packed and has got an insane amount of mass around it. Her ball and socket joint in her hip is probably around here, in line with that bottom of the blue belt. Now, for her to hit the bottom of that squat, mechanically, from a powerlifting perspective, we look at where the hip joint would be compared to the knee joint, not the hip crease. If you're purely going from the hip crease and you've got gigantic quads, it's going to be really bloody hard for a judge in the heat of the moment to have a look and go there. Now, my take on that is that if it was a powerlifting lift, that would be a good rep. We can't, neither do I, but it looked good. We can't judge people with high mass around the joint to the same degree we can with people with little mass. Now, I've got tiny mass around my upper quad for whatever reason. My quads are shit. I'm very posterior based. Now, Miss Spiegel here, I would say that is a good rep. Now, other people might disagree. They might say that's a no rep. Have a look at the other reps she did on the overhead squats. She goes much deeper than that. Yeah, she can, but does she need to? I don't think so. There's different mechanics involved. She hit the bottom of that squat on the snatch. I think it was an overhead squat in the workout. It was way deeper than she needed to go. Now, this, I would call that a good rep because of the simple fact that I think her hip joint is about here. Don't know if you can see my cursor, but it's sort of in line with between the blue belt and the brand on her knee sleeve, rather than the hip crease itself, which is higher up here. That's my take on the Spiegel one. Now, the Domit one, damn it, she is low bar, not too low bar, but she's low bar. She hits the bottom there. Now, from this angle, I can tell you for a fact that is a good rep. That is full depth. The top of the knee is here. The hip crease comes down to here. Her ball and socket joint in her hip is right down here. It's not at the hip crease up here. That is a good rep. That's a yes from me. A very good yes, actually. Mechanically, she's in the wider position. There's the picture again. For me, that's a very good rep. She's chest's nice and tall. Mechanically, her shins are nice and straight up. There's no valgus knee. For me, that's a very good rep. Both of them. I disagree. Like Hiller, because hip joint is not. Yeah. And Craig, this is my point. Okay, so do we need to readdress that for CrossFit? When if we're judging at a power lift movement, a back squat, 1 RM, why are we looking at the hip crease rather than mechanically where the joint would be? All you're doing there is forcing people into these completely unnatural and much further range of movement that they are having to hit in any other sport, including powerlifting, which are the best lifters on earth, by a long shot. And again, I'm. You have to remember, like I said, I'm coming from both a powerlifting and a CrossFit perspective here, so I'm trying to weigh up that. I get the ease that comes with saying hip crease below top of the knee. I get how easy that makes judging. I really do. But for people, and I would hazard a guess, Craig, and say you can hit the bottom of a squat underneath quite easily. You probably don't have too much mass around the joint, and you've never struggled when you're right at the bottom of that squat to demonstrate the fact that you are below parallel with the femur. Now, the femur, we need to be looking at really. And again, I share your concern with what that leads to. But with powerlifting, the great thing is that we are hitting those reps once, and that's the standard that we're looking for. Not wall balls, not 1,000 front squats, not 40 pistols in a workout. We're looking at 1 rep at a time. You've got 3 referees watching, and that's the standard. This is the issue that I have, is that if you take the specialists from each of those positions, like a rowing coach would come into a CrossFit gym and completely obliterate the rowing technique. The issue with the rower is that there's a screen and it tells you the number that you've hit. You can't really blag your way around a row. With a squat, in a back squat, is what I love about the back squat opening in powerlifting, is that there's no cue, there's no call at the bottom. You've got to gauge that for yourself. And we work and now watch powerlifting. They are hitting that position which they're told to hit. Now, CrossFit, as we're told, hip crease below top of the knee. For different people, that means an entirely different movement pattern. And this has always been the case. Now, when you're front loading, so front squat, goblet squat, overhead squat, anything in the frontal plane, it's a lot easier mechanically to hit that depth. Whereas the back squat, when we're hinging forward, obviously the femur is going to come up slightly at the hips. So I just think we need to have a think about it rather than just being black and white about someone like Spiegel or Domit not hitting that depth. I believe they hit that depth that we require. This is where the subjectivity comes into it, and it shouldn't be subjective. It should be objective. I just think potentially we do need to look at that. Yeah, mechanically, it makes sense. It's counterbalancing you at the front, so your hips can sink down into a better position for it. And again, it's not going to be for everyone. The position, like the sumo and low bar, isn't going to suit. It suits me because I'm very posterior, and I've got very shitty dorsiflexion in my left ankle from a old football injury, soccer injury. But you know, it's a conversation worth having. I don't think it's as black and white as potentially a 2-minute video would. You know, a long mass around the hip joints. It really is hard to get below parallel when I need to stay braced. Yeah. So exactly. Whereas Sean, I can almost guarantee that you're really decent on wall balls and front squats. You've got a decent one. So, you know, it's worth having the conversation. Right. That's why I love skiing as well, by the way. Anyway, but on the machine, not the fucking downhill shit. I went once skiing. Didn't really enjoy it. Too quiet for me. These, right? We'll talk about these. These are the training specials from Adidas that came out, I think, probably about a month ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago. I can honestly say, and clearly, I'm not being paid by them. Yeah. They are so damn comfortable. Not Spiegel's legs. These shoes, just clearing that up. A nice wide toe box at the front, airy, which I've always been a Nano 2 fan since they came out back in the day. These are really stable. They're nice and hard. You've got a shock absorber at the back, like a pump thing that, I don't know, just made that up. But really bloody comfortable, nice and airy. The tongue doesn't move around too much. You get the 3 stripes with them. They're really bloody light as well. They're really lightweight. I would really recommend them. And again, I'm not being paid, and I'm a Nano 2 fan. If you can afford them, I think they were 95-ish pounds, which is about $110, $112, I think. I would really recommend them. Now, I'm not a fan of big bloody heels and all jazzy shoes that have got waves on them, and cool dudes and 15-year-olds love them. These, if you're a bit like me and you like comfort, but also a harder base. Now, I ran in these. I did, what are we doing? 400 intervals within a circuit for AMRAP in the week. Really good to run in as well. I'm quite flat-footed anyway. Those were fine. Box jumps fine, carries fine, cleans, deadlifts, squats, skiing, rowing, everything. I've tested them the last couple of weeks, and they are fucking perfect. I would really recommend them. And again, I'm not being paid by Adidas. Yeah, so I can't get. They're the Yeezys of CrossFit shoes. I really cannot get my head around what I is it one of those things like, you know, that blue and black dress thing? Do you remember that picture from a few years back where people go, it's white and gold? No, it's fucking clearly blue and black. Are they doing it on purpose to be part of a club so that they're in that thing? Because I cannot look at those and think anything other than they're fucking like minging. I can't look at them and think anything other than that. I can't see how anyone, but again, subjectivity, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, do powerlifters had to pause at the bottom of the weight? No. So it goes SBD, squat, bench, bench and deadlift. There's a cue at the halfway position. So the deadlift is the only one that you start with the hard bit. So bench, obviously, you get told to unrack in your own time. You lay down, you unrack, you pause at the top, you brace. The ref, the main ref in the middle, center ref will go down. You come down. Once you're settled, you rest at the chest. You pause. Once the ref sees it's good to go, they say up or press or lift, or they'll give you a cue. You'll come up, you'll pause at the top, and then they say rack, and you rack it. So there's a cue pretty much at every single part of bench. Deadlift, pretty straightforward. You don't need a spotter, obviously, spotting team. So you come up, the ref will say lift when they think you're ready. You go, you push, you stand up tall, you wait at the top, then they say down. And then you come down to the ground. You cannot let go of that bar, which is a bit of a bugbear of mine in CrossFit when people just let go at the halfway point. But I know it's not halfway for CrossFit. But you're missing out on all that eccentric loading, which is really good for pulling anyway. So anyway, coaching aside. And then you keep your hands on the bar until the ref has said good or whatever at the floor. Now, with the squat, you're in the rack. You can walk out in your own time. The ref will then say, down or squat or go, whatever the cue they give you. You go down, you hit the bottom of the squat in your own time, and you come up in your own time. It's up to you when you feel you've hit the bottom of that squat and stand. Once you've hit the top of the squat, you pause when you've locked out. The rest look for everything like a hard lockout with your knees, hips, everything, and fully braced at the top. They then say rack, and then you can re-rack it. There's a command at every time other than the bottom of the squat for a number of reasons, but it's mostly safety. You do not want to be sat at the bottom of a squat with a maximal load on your back. Yeah, you know. But yeah, so in answer to your question, no, you don't have to wait. There's no command for standing from the squat. No small CrossFit gyms that are people discouraged from dropping the bar at the top of the deadlift. Yeah, so here's the other thing with gyms, with CrossFit gyms. Obviously, we've been around for best part of 20, well, over 20 years now. But we had a point where everything that we did, we lost sort of sight of why we go to the gym in the first place, and this was what was irking the strength coaches from body, power, and weightlifting. Was because we're racing when we think of the games and when we think of the sport and fitness racing, we're doing the minimum required standard to pass and tick that box. There's no physical development to be made when we're competing. The physical development comes when we're training. So my position has always been, and it forever will be, if we are doing deadlifts like a 5x5 or a 7x3 or whatever you're doing in the strength piece of the session, you damn well keep hold of that bar till it's at the floor. And for me, I do dead stop. So I never do touch and go in strength pieces. So if it's a set of 3, set of 5, whatever, it will always be dead stop, i.e. bringing it down to the ground, reset, go. No more than 10 seconds between a rep. That's because of my powerlifting background there. Now, I get it when you're at a competition and you're doing the minimum required movement standard. Obviously, do touch and go. It's a lot faster. You're testing. But when you're training and you're practicing and you're putting in the hard work that goes towards those touch and goes, you need to load up on the eccentrics. Think about when you're doing touch and go at a competition, you're keeping hold of that fucking bar in your hands. You're doing the eccentric. And if you're not doing the eccentric properly, one, you're going to overload your lower back when you touch the floor, when you do the bounce at the floor. And two, you're going to bend your elbows and you're probably going to be given a no rep. Those eccentrics are so damn important. And I think any coach worth their salt will be able to discern between which part of the session or what part of the cycle, whatever, you should be loading up and doing things properly when you're developing. And when you're testing, that is when you can push the boundaries a little bit and not worry too much about your form, which is what we've said. It's in the L1. It literally says that in the L1. I wish we could convince all the viewers of CrossFit the valgus of the knees isn't. Yeah, well, this is the thing. So valgus of the knees to an extent isn't dangerous. If you're utilizing the correct muscle groups and you've developed it, it's not dangerous. And this is the legacy of Kelly Starrett and that kind of era of perfection and the flow masters, and everyone has to move exactly like we say you have to. The thing is, and people have always said this about the L1, they have to have a blanket approach. They have to have this conversation and this narrative to teach everyone across the board so that they can go away and apply that where possible. They have to do that. Imagine how long the L1 would take if they accounted for every single different style of movement mechanic. You'd be there forever. Yeah, I think Danny's rep was a good rep. I think it was a great rep. And Domit's, I think they were both very good reps, very strong. And again, I know it's not a powerlifting meet, and that's going to be the caveat here. If that was a powerlifting meet, that would be a very, very decent, good rep. And I know we're not at a powerlifting meet, but again, we have to be able to discern between a back squat 1RM and a wall ball movement standard. Like, I know that for every squat, I get it. It's hip crease below top of the knee. I do understand that. I'm not a complete idiot. However, we do have to be able to discern between the two of them. They are a different style of movement, different loads. So we're not all going to be lifting perfectly all the time to time. And I genuinely do think, without any irony or judgment here, I think both Spiegel and Domit's reps were fucking fantastic reps. And I would 100% have given them, and I forever would. There's no part of me as a judge that would watch that and say no rep. Yeah. I think there's nuance when we're coaching and judging. I think we need to account for different body types, but then you open the door to, well, my arms are shorter, I should be blah blah blah. Difficult conversation, but I from a lifting perspective, I do believe that they were absolute fine reps, and I'm happy to be wrong there, but I'm not. What was in your respect? So, good question. So, my wife is currently, I need to go and help her in a bit. That's why I was jumping on for a little while. My wife's at a carnival pet festival sort of thing today. Hello. So she's selling her baked goods. So I went and trained earlier this morning. I was at the gym about 7:30, I think I got there. Did my session, came back, had some scrambled eggs and bacon. And that's been it really, other than coffee for now. Now I'll get something at lunchtime. Jonathan. And yeah, so the whole Hyrox thing as well, I've had to dial it in a little bit of my nutrition. Me and Yoni boy, what do we call it? Ate like a prick. We're both eating a fair bit of suboptimal nutrition the last few weeks, so we've reined it in. I lied. I did lie, Yoni. I'm sort of 2/3 of the way through a bagel as well, sourdough bagel. No, it means, Sean, I detest baked beans. The baked bean is never on my plate. Okay, the sauce just ruins whatever beany flavor there might have been. It goes cold. It just soaks into everything else on the plate. It leaks in like a virus. It's horrible, and I hate baked beans. They should be eliminated from Earth. I'm sure other people like them. What else was about? Upcoming guests. So it's quite funny. At the moment, because Sevi's obviously going live, or the channel's going live whenever they see fit, and they just jump on, and so there's no planning involved on the back end. So at the moment, on the back end, it's just my shows, which is quite funny. Looks like it could be my channel. But yeah, so my guests coming up, and I don't want to get any of these wrong. So in chronological order, I've got Henrik. Now, Henrik he's such a cool dude. He's the co-founder of Coaches Congress. So he's coming on, I think he'll be live from Spain. So we are scheduled for 11 o'clock on the 5th, which is Tuesday. So on there. Looking forward to that. I'm really, I think now the games is going to be over. I'm not pushing the games away. But once the games is over, I really hope that there'll be a deep dive back into the affiliates and coaching standards and everything like that. So Henrik coming on the show is awesome. We'll talk about the coaches congresses all around the world, how it came about, why it's necessary, and why it's so damn important for affiliates to ensure that their coaches are attending these. Now, you think about Daniel Chaffee at Louvre. He's just sent, I think, either 5 or 6 of his coaches from these 3 gyms. He's taken them to the games to attend the coaches stuff over there. How fucking brilliant is that? You reinvest in your coaches. If you invest in your coaches, you're going to have a winning box. So Hyrox on Tuesday, 11 o'clock. So around about this time-ish on Tuesday. Then I've got Gretchen Kittelberger from International Functional Fitness Federation, IF3, on Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, Friday, I believe, at 11 a.m. It's the same time. Talking about the IF3, about its inception, about her role there as president, and why it came about, why it's so important we have a legitimized governing body for fitness racing, and why it will grow incrementally, the sport and the fitness racing within CrossFit. Then on the 12th, which is the following Tuesday, I believe, I've got Matthias Hernandez, who's the CEO of Velites. So he's coming on. So that'll be cool. We're going to talk about the company, about their partnership with the games, about their presence within affiliates, and why it's so important for us as gym users to have the right kit and have the right tools to do what we want to do, just like low bar. Jon, we talked about low bar a lot, so I'm going to enjoy that. Shawnee boy, what you got? What are you saying, boy? I did a local comp. Oh, right. Okay. I did a local comp yesterday and did one event, had dumbbell bench press and bar muscle. You're welcome. We've prepared you for bench and bar muscle ups, so you are very, very welcome. I'll just block you, don't I? Anyway. Good. So there my shows lined up. I'm really bloody hoping. I've spoken to a few affiliates from around Europe. And I'm hoping to get a few on. One that I'm really looking forward to is the owners of Nordic in Sverige, in Stockholm, because it was where I did my L1 many moons ago, and they are now in a different building. But it's such a cool. They've built. I'm pretty sure they're one of the first boxes in Europe. Originally, been going for a long time. Same owners, and they've got a Hall of Fame, and they've been to the games so many times. And they've just got a really cool community. And all their socials are great. They're just CrossFit. They embody CrossFit, and they're really, really cool. So I'm hoping to get them on relatively soon. How's your Hyrox going? I'm glad you asked that, Kenneth. All right, started on Friday, so started 2 days ago, and I've done no running since then. I said earlier, I'll keep it short, but I usually rest on Thursdays and Sundays, complete rest from the gym. I'll be out and doing bits and bobs, but what I'm going to do a half an hour piece on each of those. So Thursdays and Sundays, gradually grow that to about an hour. But today's was just predominantly quad and leg based power for half an hour, which was cool. And yesterday I did a small deadlift and ski thing with some bench after. But I've got a powerlifting meet 2 weeks before, so I'm going to have to keep on top of all that. What I'm hoping is the Hyrox stuff will be my conditioning so that I can lose that body weight that I need for the powerlifting event. So that's what I'm hoping. Abso-fucking-lutely not. How about that, Sean? How about you stick that where the sun's going to shine? Yeah. Where are you doing the Hyrox? So Yoni Boy and I are doing Birmingham at the NEC, the same room, I believe, as Sid was, and the British weightlifting champs. So that's cool. We are sharing a hotel room, and we will be live streaming a wrestling match probably in our pants the night before. So what could possibly go wrong? Yeah. So here's the thing: we got in, and then we could only do. We're doing the pairs one with the partner. What do we call it? Couples. We're doing a couples one. We could only do the pro. But I think actually that suits our skill set. So we're both heavier lifters. So we'll just go slower and just lift the stuff. Birmingham, Alabama. No, the original Birmingham. Where the what are they called? You know the show I'm on about. What's the show? Peaky Blinders. Yeah, we're doing the pro. But so here's the thing, right? I was under the impression that the pro was like the pro as in like, professional and higher. But I've been convinced by many people who have done many Hyroxes is that pro just means like heavier. It doesn't necessarily mean harder. I mean, it is, but because it's heavier, there's less expectation and less kind of push on the run. But if Jon and I did the whatever open or whatever it's called, we would sail quicker through the lighter loads on everything, but then we would still be just as the same on the running. Whereas this one, we get to express our power and our strength. Exactly. Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing is that I think when you go for the pro, you're going to be surrounded by the big lads and the quick people. The big lads aren't going to be rattling around on the run, and the quick people are just going to be way ahead. So, I don't know. Open is scaled. Okay. I do my slippage. Yeah, that's why I've started getting them involved in my training this week. I don't really do enough, but I'm fortunately, my power background helps me with the sled. It doesn't really help me with the running. But I'm all right at running. Running's not. I played football, soccer for many a year, so my baseline is fine for running. I'm just gonna have to keep up with Jon, so that's what's driving me on my training. Yeah. So that's the thing. So I'm very posterior. I'm very posterior based, especially since my knees got mashed up. I keep tapping the fucking table. Anyway, anything else you want to talk about? Yoni boy, are we going on tonight? Maybe we can get Garat and Colleen to patch in, give us a rundown of what they experienced. I think they're staying on, aren't they, to watch and spectate rather than going home? I can't remember, and we'll find out. Anyway, I think that's enough from me. I think I've talked enough. Peaky Blinders. Yeah, I when I went to Sid recently, I went on the train through Birmingham from Liverpool, and you go through obviously the back end through Wolverhampton and everywhere, and you go over the canals, and it just made me think of Peaky Blinders, and it made me want to watch them. I haven't, just obviously don't want to. We'll need to go live between stuff. Oh yeah, there's more games shit, isn't there? We could do that. We could go live, couldn't we? It's a good shout. We could go live after one of the events. Let's have a look at it and we'll come on. Y'all's culture. Yeah, I mean, Peaky Blinders is basically the whole of Britain. And it's exactly how we all are and talk. That is the plan, Katie. Yeah, cool. I don't think there was anything else that was going to shove down your throats. But yeah, it was nice hanging out. Nice talking to you all. I think the schedule today, let's have a looky. Let's have a looky hooky. CrossFit UK posted the timetable for Europe. Have a look. So that was event. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Yoni Boy, individuals 5 p.m., 6:40, 8 p.m. Right. Quite close. I mean, it might be worth if we go live at like 6, maybe at 5:30 when the teams are on. Everyone cares about that. Event 8 looks like a really short event anyway. We could potentially go live at like 5:45, I reckon, for like half an hour, 45 minutes, and then the pre-cum will be on from like probably 10 past, 6:15. I reckon they'll be talking about event 9 and 10 maybe. Cool. All right. Well, we'll aim for that. It's 5:30. 5:30. So 5:30 is 5:30. But in German, you might be German, Katie. In German, when you say 5:30, it means half before 5, doesn't it? So it'd be 4:30. Maybe you're German. Who knows? Maybe I've cracked the Katie code. But yeah, 5:30 is 5:30. 5:30. Cool. All right. Well, have a lovely day. Have a blessed day, Katie. I hope you have a blessed day, whichever deity. Yeah, cool. Just say that. You say the time. It's Chico time. Americans don't say that. Yeah, French is like that. Yeah, European coolness. Right. Good. Thank you all for playing. Thank you for coming along. All 23 of you. Have a lovely day. Enjoy the games. It's the last day of the games today, so enjoy it. Have fun, because tomorrow we're back to reality, back to the gyms, back to the affiliates, back to coaching, back to normality. So enjoy the shenanigans and the circus for everything that it's worth. And I will see y'all Tuesday. Bye for now.